Excellent. I told Richard that he doesn't have to present us more than just the names, because we will be presenting ourselves who are in the panel. So I think we're gonna start with someone. Let's see if this works. No, it doesn't. Well, let's start with Kristine. We have a slide for you as well, but yeah, let's see if we can get that going. But Kristine, please do present yourself. Who are you? Where are you coming from, other than Fynd reality?
Yes, and there's my slide as well. No,
well,
just for us.
It's there for us.
Perfect.
That's okay.
Yes, my name's Kristine. I'm the CTO of Fynd Reality. We are a Norwegian-based company. We're not very large, but we are very impactful in our environment. So we are a software company working with augmented reality, virtual reality, and connecting everything into one platform that we've called Core. It's an educational procedure training platform for all kinds of industries, from military to education.
From military to education. That's very interesting. Maybe we will come back to that with the questions. Then next up is Maria. Please present yourself. Who are you, where are you coming from?
Hi everyone, I'm Maria. I call myself XR creator or designer. I've graduated a new program in Helsinki University called Extended Reality Design. And ever since I started developing filters on Instagram and Snapchat. So that's how I found my duty.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Maria. Then we go with the boys. So Jyrki, can you present yourself?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, hi, my name is Jyrki Saarinen. My background is photonics, so optics. So that's where what I have studied and done most of my life. So especially the displays and that part of the cameras and so on for the headsets. But then I also spent 15 years as an entrepreneur and a businessman, and now I'm back in the academia, living after living 7 years in Silicon Valley. I'm now back in Europe, and I'm kind of trying to bridge between the academic research and the industry commercial things. So my professorship is about the photonics applications and commercialization.
Well, that's super interesting. Let's see what we can dig up with that. Me, well, there's me on the slide. So Teemu Ollilainen, the proper pronunciation. But from Finland. I have a lengthy experience in the ICT field, over 25 years there. The recent, 10 years in the XR industry. But we founded with Joe the Spatial 8 business ecosystem, and we've been running the overnights in Helsinki, in the Northern XR, in the whole northern part of the Europe. So that's why I'm here. I'm trying to maybe facilitate some of the discussion today regarding Nordic values and XR. So I don't want to talk about myself. Let's go into the Nordic values, because not everybody knows what are the Nordic values. So I took the liberty of stealing. This was from I don't remember, the link is there where I stole the Nordic values. What are them? I was thinking myself, what are Nordic values before our panel? What they are actually. So I found a definition that it's about preserving the environment, natural resources, of course, compassion and equality, new ways of thinking, creativity and innovation, openness and transparency, and then trust. And we discussed before the panel that before I even told the panelists that what are the Nordic values, we kind of ended up in the same ones. So that's why I translated this into 4 different categories that we want to be talking today. From the values in the previous slide, I figured that trust is like security in XR. Then openness, like open source. Education translates into new ways of thinking and all that. And then creativity transfers into gaming. Gaming is so hot in XR anyway, so everybody is doing gaming anyway, so why not talk about that as well. Let's see how much time do we have with the gaming, but we'll start with the security part. I think that's one of the most interesting parts of when you are creating something in XR. People tend not to think about security when you are doing your proof of concepts and doing the transformation of the digital life into XR rather than doing it in 2D platforms. But we had a good discussion with Kristine about an unconventional use. So how do you see the unconventional use that you already presented in your presentation of yourself, that you are doing that already? But please, what is unconventional use of XR?
Unconventional uses of XR, especially for the military and for security, are, for example, those elements of military operations that you don't really think about when it comes to XR. Because, of course, you think about training, operational support, manning of drones, all of these things that are active in warfare. But very rarely you think of the things that sort of always are there and always have the greatest impact on people's lives, which is, of course, things like protection of civilians in an armed conflict. How do you train for that? So that's something that we are very heavily into, seeing how we can use this technology to sort of make sure that those people who are becoming more and more removed from the consequences of the conflict through these kinds of technologies, you're sort of removed from the actual consequences of what's happening when you go through XR, because you can, of course, choose to see what you want to see and what you don't want to see. So using XR technology to prepare the people who will go into these sort of situations on how their actions actually impact the people, the civilians, and everyone involved. I think that's very important. And to use sort of just setting people into a situation. You can simply use 360 video to sort of make sure that everyone realizes that even if you do this thing, then it will impact not only these security forces, but it will also impact the people who are living very close to it. And you'd think that this is something that's very, of course, obviously we do that. But sadly, within certain sort of sectors of the military and these kind of preparations, civilian lives aren't really thought of that much. So that's something that the Norwegian Defence University College is working very hard towards and using XR technology to do.
So you're doing it in a training form, so to say?
Yes, sort of training and realizing the impact that you have in that sort of situation. So,
do you have the right to share one of the scenarios for this VR simulation?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, of course.
She's the moderator.
Yeah, so one of the things that we do is we set up a scenario. We make 360 videos of the scenarios from the civilian side and then from the perpetrator side. Mm-hmm. So you get two sort of different situations, and you sort of understand them because you are immersed in them through XR technology. You are in that situation. You are doing the things. Mm-hmm. And then you get to the next step, which is a dialogue simulation. You can talk in a virtual world with a perpetrator of violence and ask them questions. And we see that if you ask the questions beforehand, you get completely different questions than if you ask them after going through the experience. Because then you realize that your actions have consequences in a very real way and in a different way. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. What sort of, well, I don't know if you can answer it, but is there a sort of metrics after the training that you have, like how the impact was?
Yes, it's discussion based because it's hard to quantify, of course. So, but we are getting a lot of feedback, and that's being worked through by the Norwegian University College that we're working with as well. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have reports and
publications.
Publications, yes.
Yeah, that sounds good. Regarding publications, Jyrki, you are within a university. Have you run into this sort of scenarios in your work? The unconventional use of XR, so to say.
Sure, and that's something what we would like to do definitely, is to find new ways to use the AR/VR, because I think that we still don't know what could be the mainstream or the key things. Now we are still kind of trying to move the existing things to the VR/AR, but I strongly believe that the big breakthroughs might be something that we haven't even thought about yet. So if you think about that, when the mobile phone came, who thought that or was able to explain that what we are going to do with a mobile phone today. So I believe that we are in the same stage now with the AR and VR headsets that we still don't know that what is the big thing that what we are going to do. We are still in the early phase to trying to just move the existing ones from the displays, mobile phones, computers to the headsets.
Yeah, that's so true. How about Maria? Have you run into any of this sort of use cases? You have been doing more on the AR side of things, maybe. But have you run into any cases that would relate to this?
It's funny because when you said security, what I thought is like, how do you secure your data while you've been in VR or while you've been in AR? And for instance, in my field, well, whatever I do, I don't own it because, once I publish it on Meta, once I publish it on Snapchat, it's kind of owned by the platform. It's not my artwork anymore. So there's really a lot of going on now with NFTs in a way how you can claim the ownership for your work, but there's no really proper scenario yet of how do you secure that the art piece that you made is owned by you and people, like it's not going to be stolen.
Yeah, that's about the ownership. That's all about the kind of security in a sense. But how about maybe the other point on the slide is the transforming the digital life towards XR platforms. We are currently using a lot of applications and whatever we do is kind of very secure. There's kind of firewalls and the kind of cyber security around what we are doing currently. But within XR, I haven't seen too much discussions about how to implement into your ICT environment where you have a lot of security controls around that. So I don't know, Kristine, I'm going to ask you because you are doing it. So how have you tackled that sort of angle of the whole thing? That how does the cyber security around XR experiences work in your experience?
Yeah, we're quite lucky because a lot of the people with a security concern, they use tethered headsets. Yeah. And then, of course, you can use the exact same security that you would otherwise. But we see that more and more the wish to use virtual reality training, augmented reality training pivots towards not using internet, like packaging everything down into a secure environment. And, of course, to have everything that you own, all your 3D models and everything on your own servers, and then just using the back-end system. And, of course, then all the traffic is heavily guarded. So that's definitely a challenge because it's a large kind of work. And I think we are approaching it, but as of now, a lot of the XR development is still in the demo phase, in the proof of concept phase, to demonstrate that it works and that it will have an impact. And then you have to start work on the difficult bit, which is the cybersecurity part.
Yeah, that is so true. And something, maybe the key takeaway here from the security part is that remember to take it into account when you are designing something. So even though it's easy to do the POCs, but what happens next? That's the big question.
Another question is like when we start using OpenAI to generate some content for that, trainer programs and stuff like that, anyone can basically have an access to it. So yeah, I think we should move on to the next slide because we're running out of time.
We have plenty of time, don't worry. It's okay. It is okay. Well, we can go to the next subject, which is of course the open source part. Openness, what does the open source mean? So I took the liberty of taking Mr. Linus Torvalds' picture on on the slide and kind of defined what is open source in a definition from Wikipedia. And the reason why the Google cardboard box is there is because Jyrki has been working with OpenAR, which is open source AR or mixed reality headsets, correct?
Yes.
Do walk us through what is an open source mixed reality headset? What is that?
Yeah, the idea is of course that let's say we believe that you can also see the chicken and egg. So this is pretty similar to the chicken and egg problem that if you don't have the software, there's no hardware manufacturers, and the hardware manufacturers don't want to enter the business when there are no use cases or software. And in a way, I have been following the AR, let's say, from early 2000 when Nokia guys demonstrated the first AR displays. And then it was then later licensed to Vuzix and then sold to Microsoft. And every year we have been thinking, okay, the AR headsets are coming next year, especially let's say the cheap ones or the lower cost ones for the consumers. So in a way, what happened with this cardboard VR, that was a great idea because with a fraction of some euro, you were able to make your own headset and start understanding because I believe that when you're talking about anything visual, it's difficult to explain what does it mean unless you really try on a headset. And in a way, let's say the cardboard VR headsets were good because then people were able to use and try and understand what does it mean. But the challenge in the AR is that the display part is much more complicated. There are great demonstrators if you go to the exhibition space, but they cannot get into the market with a good enough price yet because the volumes need to be there. And that way, let's say, we decided to try that, and we have now launched in the beginning of this year an open AR headset. And the idea is that the instructions for how to build that, where to buy, how to 3D print the mechanical parts, everything is available free of charge. So you can go to the website, you can download the instructions for the 3D printer, for the mechanical parts, the software for the Arduino Nano processor and so on, and you can build your own AR headset. And the key thing is that the price, the bill of material for these headsets is 20 euro. So that's really, good. Let's say, with a price of 20 euro plus your own time to build that with those assembly instructions, what we have placed, you can make your own AR headset. Of course, they are not like not even close to what we are talking and what we want to have. But at least that's the starting point. So if you go to the 110, so there from 10 to noon, we are demonstrating the version 1, and also we are going to, you can get a glimpse about the version 2.0, what we are also going to launch very soon.
Okay, that sounds very interesting, but how about software?
Yeah, the software now it's very simple, but the idea is that we try to follow what Linus Torvalds was doing for the Linux, is that we try to have a forum where people can start developing and exchanging their own ideas. And really, like I said, that is unconventional use. We want that everybody, hobbyists in the world, would get new ideas about making their own software. So we also have a non-profit society now, openAR.fi, where you can join free of charge and you can start, let's say, giving your own ideas, also distributing your own software, giving ideas about where to use the headset, how to use that, and so on. Okay. So we are going to extend that from the hardware also to the software side.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting. Kristine, any takeaways from Jyrki's speak?
It's amazing. I'm just going to have to go try it on. We talked about it a bit yesterday, of course, but that's...
Oh, you messed up the panel. We were talking that you don't speak beforehand about what we are talking in the panel, so we can discuss it here. But
sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. How about Maria? How do you see the kind of openness and open source part? How does that fit into the XR field? Is there room for that?
Yes, of course. It fits greatly because right now, I mean, it's just a repeat in itself saying, but VR, AR field is pretty new, so we have to help each other, and that's what we're doing. So I'm glad to see initiatives where you can just build a sandbox where everyone can play with that. With each other.
Yeah. How do you see, will it be the Linux of XR? Is that your goal, Jyrki?
Yeah, basically. So in a way, yes, we are not, so we are very happy that there is then a commercial headsets coming. We want to open the door for them. So in a way, Linux is kind of competing with the existing other software and so on. Maybe our project will live for 5 years, hopefully only a couple of years, and then you don't need any more our free of charge or do-it-yourself headsets, because you can already buy headsets with a similar price from any shop.
Okay.
Just to add to that, I strongly believe, and this is what I kind of keep repeating, development of VR doesn't stop on the development of the lens and the glasses. And I think the one important thing is that I actually saw a lot of demos on this exhibition, which is I'm super grateful about, is haptics, because like when you think of the smartphone, it's not just the screen, but it's also the way how you interact with the phone, like clicking, and the touchpad is pretty great technology that has taken the smartphone forward. And now we see a lot of demos with the hand tracking in front of like in the field vision, but this is pretty tiring. Like nobody would stay for hours in this position. So I think when we have the open source for the lenses displays, and then when we have the open source for the haptic research, and those two can merge together, then we start seeing some more AR that's acceptable for everyone. Yeah. So it can be, you know, like some cyberpunk bracelets that kind of track your whatever movements that you do with your hands, to select, to swipe, all the other things, but it's just the two things that needs to be combined together. It's not just the display, it's also the haptics.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I know that you have some sort of a solution for that already.
Yeah, we are also demonstrating a kind of a thumb controller that can be connected to our 2.0 open AR headsets. So with your just moving your thumb, you can control like a let's say a mouse or whatever. And that will be hopefully a commercial product someday, and let's say the easy one, which you can 3D print yourself at the parts and so on, you can again make it yourself. So yes, we have an interest also to kind of combine. We also making the current one more modular, so we are switching from Arduino to the Raspberry Pi, which is easier. We are adding the Bluetooth connection to your mobile phone. And then we have places for cameras and so on, so that you can build and add more cost, whatever you need, and you are interested.
That sounds very interesting. So to end maybe the open source part, Kristine, which will be the future of XR? Is it open source or closed source?
I hope it's open source.
Well,
you never know, of course, but I really hope so. That's something that will make the technology available for so many more people. It's
yeah.
I think it should be like with the healthcare. It needs to be a combination of the public and the private.
I agree. How about Jyrki?
Yeah.
I know your position, but do tell.
Yeah, in a way, kind of, let's say, in the so of course the companies have to be able to make money with that.
Yes.
So you have to find a model how to make money, and that's a challenge. What I have been seeing, working both in the industry and academia, that in the academia we have to have an open research and so on, but still you have to have patents and somehow to find a place how to make the business. So it's kind of maybe a combination of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right, let's go to the next, or not. Oh, well, we are going to the next one. So education, new ways of thinking, how does that relate into our discussion point is that there's a kind of a, well, sort of a chicken and egg problem in education as well. In a sense, I really like the chicken and egg problem anyway. Is that on one part, like a lot of the teachers in educational facilities want to use new tools, but then again, there's the other side of them that really don't want to change and use new tools. And then of course there's the place where students are wanting to learn new skills, but maybe they don't get them there. They go online and get that rather than from the educational facility. And then the problem of institutions and educational facilities are very slow on changing the ways of working. So there's a lot of, let's say, different sides of the entire thing on kind of the education part. But I think, Maria, you are the youngest one of us, so you have been the latest in the learning these. Do tell about your experience in education in Finland.
Yeah, actually, technically, I'm still in school because I can't finish writing my thesis. It's just taken me forever with the full-time job that I'm having right now. But yes, so I've reached out to some of the teachers of my program, and I've suggested that we do a curriculum that's done by Meta, Spark, and just teach more students to learn Spark AR software so they are more independent as freelancers. Since Finnish education is so strongly affected by the game industry, a lot of them start going to the VR development, and then that's not really such an independent job anymore, because once you start developing VR game, we are talking about big team. We are talking about months of roadmap to achieve something. Whereas with the AR, you can do fast-paced projects and you can just have fun, and then you experiment and you do like little exhibitions, and you know it's just more flexible. And then it's the same with the teachers and the same with the agencies. When I was reaching out to them and I suggested them to do AR marketing campaign, and they were like, show me another Finnish agency that has done it. And I'm like, but look, worldwide, everyone is doing it, but they just want to see the example of the Finnish one that's doing it. So they kind of like, you know, this is a very small community. In a way, it's like a little bit rigid and closed. So that's why I think it's like so slowly catching up with the rest of them, because you just need to find one or two that you need, like that's going to be, like we're talking about Nordics as open and innovative, but when it's coming to adopting the open and innovative, if you didn't come up with that yourself, there's a trick here. And the same with the teachers. So I was like, let's do the course. And they were like, well, show me the companies that want to buy that product, or show me the agencies that are doing that. And I'm like, well, this is the chicken and egg problem, exactly. Like, how can you educate new creators so you can create more content and so forth? So, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. But Jyrki, you are working in a university. How does this problem translate to you?
Yeah, so one thing is, of course, so the open AR headsets, the more and more we are thinking and working and talking about that. So actually many universities, including our university, but also others, we want to use that as a topic for teaching. Because you have to learn a little bit about the optics, photonics, about programming, about electronics a little bit. You have to start thinking about comfortable use and the consumer point of view. You have to start calculating bill of material and so on. So basically it's about commercialization project in the kind of mini scale. But really it's about this education in general. I think that that's really challenging that let's say the young people coming, they have completely different kind of, let's say, background in the gaming, and they have been using laptops and mobile phones with a touchscreen and so on. And we, as old guys in the girls or ladies in the university, we have been using Blackboard and so on. So it's a challenging really about how we can teach people who are actually more educated about the new technologies. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, that's.
And then one other thing to add to the topic of education, because for instance, I think with VR it's pretty easy. Like it's just a kind of logical follow-up from the VR industry. So we have those campuses that teach just the game design. But with AR, it's a little bit trickier because it's a combination of most of those. Like it's the game studies, but it's also the web development studies. And for instance, in my university, those campuses are like they're on two different ends of the cities, and they don't talk to each other. at all. So how do you make game designers learn code and the other way around? Because that's also a problem.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Kristine, you can then comment on the business side of the things, that how does that translate when you are getting new people in your company and all that? What's the outlook from the business side?
Yeah, that's also, I completely agree with Maria. That's one of the big issues, because even if we're looking for someone and they are really good at code, but they've never worked with a designer, that's like, I know that's a red flag. But it's just because when working with virtual reality and XR, we need everything. Like, we need someone who understands the entire process, who can 3D model. I mean, they don't have to be good at it. They just have to understand how a 3D model works to be able to put it in there. They have to understand animations. They have to understand art in a completely different way than a normal software developer. So we are very lucky, because just across the road from us, there's a university college focusing on game development, and they force their students to work together on a program or a game. So that's really good. I think that's one of the big helpful things from us. For all of our developers have been going through that.
Yeah.
So
forcing them to work together.
Yeah. I mean,
Definitely.
I think it's a great initiative, and this is what also I want to push at my university. It's just to start some kind of mixed project between the programmer students and the design, like 3D designer students.
Yeah. I know that you have the ecosystem in Norway that has all the universities and the businesses in the same ecosystem. Bryn, can you, what's happening there? Is there any, what are you doing to kind of fix the problem, other than forcing them to work together?
we're of course looking at all the sort of anyone who might have an interest in something being developed for them, like all the clients and all the university colleges in the area, and just trying to make projects work together, sort of like finding the right ways to put people together, really. And I think we've had a lot of success with that. So.
Yeah, that sounds good. That needs to be replicated to other countries, I guess. All right, let's go to the final topic of today's panel with our very good panelists, which is then the creativity part. We already touched upon gaming, because that's something that, well, I think everybody can see that everybody wants to do gaming. If you're a young student, you want to do the game because that's so cool. and you definitely want to go that route, but that's also sort of a problem with XR, that people kind of tend to relate it to gaming only. I just took some images from Nordic games. I don't know if you knew, but all of those are from the Nordic countries, including Unity and Minecraft and all that. So, but in Finland, especially from my point of view, the kind of the gaming education is there. But like you, Maria, already touched upon it, that is there other than that, like if you want to do AR filters, is there courses to do that, or is it only gaming?
Not. Well, we did have some AR projects, but they were built mostly with Unity and Vuforia back then. So now there's much more plugins for Unity to build more complicated things, multi-peer. I've a little bit researched Niantic API for Unity, so there's some great things that you can do about it. But the way how Finnish education kind of works is that, at least in my universities, teachers don't really press you like, you need to do that particular thing, and not the other. So I always had the freedom to explore. That's why I've spent so much time while I was studying Spark AR, even if it wasn't part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I had to like fill the gaps for the other courses, and that's why I have the extensive overuse of all the game engines, which most of the AR filter creators don't have. But do I use them daily? No, because you just need something fast. And then when it comes to AR development on the game engines, it just becomes long and painful, and the testing process is terrible because you need to build for the phone every single time. And then you probably also need to design your own GUI for debugging, and like there is no really ready out of the box solutions. And then once you come in as a game artist, you don't necessarily have UX experience. How you don't necessarily have debugging experience, because that's something they teach you in the web development school. So yeah, like, I mean, there are a lot of barriers still using the game engines and the AR. So that's why I'm strongly suggesting, like, let's use social AR in schools, because it's easy and it's highly motivating, because you know how motivation works, right? If you do something and if you don't succeed in it, you're probably gonna be like I don't want to do it again. But if you do something and then you succeed, you're gonna be like, yeah, I want to do it more.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
How about Kristine in Norway? I know this is a bit of a Finnish view of that gaming is the key and everybody does that, and we do big exits on gaming. But is it showing in Norway as well that the focus is towards the gaming more than the others?
Yeah, I think you guys in Finland have a larger focus on it than us. But we do have a lot of gaming companies. They're quite small. Some of them are getting bigger. But I think it's in Norway. That's not really the focus in that way, because those who want to make games, they make games, and they keep making games. They don't necessarily pivot that much, I think.
Yeah.
So it's more separated, really, within both in education and in the industry. So that's maybe something we could learn from you guys.
Okay, Jyrki. Final question of the panel: why Finland is focused so much in the gaming, in the kind of university part, that they are kind of focusing the education towards that? Why everything is coming towards gaming?
I think that, let's say, in our university, we were maybe one of the first ones in the kind of gaming incubator centers, but we were too early, so that time we didn't have any success stories in Finland yet. So it was actually then, it died really. We didn't get any funding for that and so on. But I think that that one thing is that what has happened is that when you have a good kind of, let's say, cases, so that you can say that, okay, these guys did Angry Birds and made millions, and why we cannot do the same thing, and then it happens. So that's kind of positive kind of circle that starts running, and that's why. So of course, gaming is one thing what young people are interested to do, but there are many other things. But why gaming then became the success was that really we had these first successful exits. Then we had more and more and more, and suddenly Finland became one of the leading countries for gaming. So I would say that's the reason, because I have worked in the kind of in the startup community entrepreneurship for many years, and I have seen that you need to you need to have some good examples, especially from your own country, and then you start believing yourself. In Finland, we are very shy. We are not the best marketers in our salespeople in the world. Really, we are too honest. We are too, let's say. So that's what it needs. It needs some good examples, and we have had that, and that's now we have the positive things going on.
I totally agree on that, and maybe the next big thing will be the open AR.
Good.
And the new Linux of the XR world.
Actually, I think social anxiety plays a big role here, like, because for whom else would you create games than for yourself, right? We have pretty terrible weather most of the year, so we sit a lot at home, we game a lot, and then we also afraid to socialize. So then here you go, gaming is the answer to that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then maybe also one thing, what is now, so many other areas now are using the gaming. So the engines, game engines are used in many other fields now. Many companies who studied making games are now working for making digital twins for industry and so on. And also now the Finnish military is saying that, yeah, we will take those guys who are the best in the computer games, and we don't care if they can run only 100 kilometers in the Cooper test or whatever, because if they are good in the hands and in the games, we need those kind of things. So now we are seeing that in a way that the gaming created many good things in a way that software engines and so on, and they are now applied in many other fields. So we need that. So the same thing happened with the space things and so on. So some reason they developed some technology, but then we started learning that, okay, these things can be used elsewhere.
I totally agree. I think the panel is starting to warm up, but we have to have to now close because we have taken all our time. So it's time for questions if anyone has any.
But first, a round of applause for our panelists, please. So in order that I don't feel completely redundant, I might, do the question and answer bit. So we've got a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions in the audience? Please.
Other uses are fine art. Like I lecture in fine art, I'm an artist as well. And so just a reminder to think about also these industries, because fine art is an industry. There's a lot, if the care is about industry, it is an industry. And between the coders not being able to talk with the designers, there is a space lacking, which is of the critical thinking and semiotics and addressing social issues also. And being able to kind of be a bit more fluid with everything. So because I'm having this experience of talking with universities and like, okay, I'm about to like do a workshop in a Norwegian university, and I'm like, do we have headsets so we can go into VR and in the fine arts and like, and it's not only Norway, other places too. Like everywhere I go, if they have something, it's like a vibe from I don't know how many years ago. So please make this happen. That this really connects not just the coders to the designers, but with the fine art departments as well. Especially because, like you're saying, oh, it's great for industries, many things. You can use the thing from gaming, but then they end up, oh, the military wants it too, to like drive drones. It's important to have those questions and be really understood what's going on. And I think the fine art people are usually, especially the people with a theoretical, philosophical background, can come and really in the schools and perhaps do this whole thing in a way that brings change. Yeah, okay, I'm thinking.
So for the sake of the recording and those who couldn't hear, the question/suggestion was to do with, it's not just about Unreal and Unity. There's a gap in the middle between code and artists, which could be filled by fine art. Please don't leave fine art out. Does anyone have a question? No? I do, if that's okay. So I found that fascinating. Thank you so much. I learned a lot, as I always do in this room. And I have a kind of long-standing fear. Like, I'm a huge fan of virtual reality, and unlike many of the panelists, I fear augmented reality. And I can see a possible future scenario where the value of openness and the value of security come into conflict. And that's at the point of mass ubiquity of AR, when everyone is roaming around with AR glasses and they're recording all the time. Do you think that is a possibility, that they could come into conflict in that one's personal privacy, therefore security, might be invaded by the pervasive use of AR glasses? Would anyone like to take that one on?
I think that's a very good question, and yes, it will come to a conflict. Like, and the same thing happened with, Jyrki can then comment after me, but the same thing with Linux. There's security issues with that as well, but then the community came in and fixed it. So it's even more secure than the kind of closed systems. But I don't know, how do you see, Jyrki, maybe now doing the kind of open part of and actually the mixed reality part that the question was addressing that?
Yeah, of course, let's say, one thing is what I would say that, let's say, new things always create fear. And if we think about that, like say, when cameras came first time, we might have afraid that, hey, come on, now you can actually record image about something that has happened. And maybe we didn't have that vivid discussion because we didn't have a social media and so on, but maybe a lot of people were afraid. And same thing happened with the Google X glasses. So they were abandoned even that you cannot go to the bar or movie theater. So I think that one part is hopefully only about that it's a new technology and that will might be a problem. And I hope that we will still find fixes for that. And also we as human beings respect and understand that there's a limit that we shouldn't pass. So of course there are always some people who do that, unfortunately, but most of us would still kind of understand that even this gives you a tools that you can go too far. You don't use these for that purposes.
And you are seeing some of it already because with drones and cameras on drones, they are everywhere and they can film everything. But then, of course, you had a very quick response from the legal system. So there are ways of managing it. It's just that we have to realize and accept that some people will break the law, even if you make laws for it. So, but I think we are approaching the point where
I feel that Maria has a different opinion. Do you?
No, I mean, I agree. I mean, if you just want to steal someone's data and if you want to disrupt security, you're going to do it no matter like if you have the glasses on or if you have a smartphone. It's just a question of intention, right? If it's going to be a massively released product, it's going to have some security system in place. And taking into account like how much of video data is already recorded nowadays, like your face is everywhere.
Yeah, good point. So we have time for one more question, if anyone has one? No? Okay. In which case, let's thank our panelists one more time. Thank you very much for a great talk.
Thank you.